Good morning, my fourth grade friends, and welcome to day 2 of comparing decimals. So yesterday we just kind of separated tenths and hundredths. Now today we are combining them. So we're going to be doing pages 567, 568, and 569 together. And then on your own, you're going to be doing page 564, okay? So let's just jump on into it. So like I said, we're going to have tenths and hundredths here. So we're going to have two types of place value. So Matt measures 2 insects. The bumblebee is 75 hundredths of an inch long. The hornet is 8/10 of an inch long. Which insect is longer? Okay, so first let's pull out the important information from what we underlined. So the bumblebee, I'm just going to call BB, is 0 and 75 hundredths. The hornet, we'll just put as H, is 0 and 8/10. So now if we do our fractions again, 75 will be our numerator for the bumblebee, but we have hundredths, so that means our denominator is 100. Now the hornet, the numerator is 8. The denominator here would be 10 because we have 8/10. We don't have a number in our hundredth spot. It only goes to our 8/10 spot. So we have 75 hundredths and 8/10, but we know because we are super smart fourth graders that we cannot compare two different denominators. So that means we're going to have to create a common denominator here. So using our rules for equivalent fractions, we're going to multiply. To get from 10 to 100, we need to multiply 10 times 10. So whatever we do to the bottom, we must do to the top. So 8 times 10 is 80. So now we can compare these two fractions because we have similar denominators. And now it's easy. We can say 81 hundredths is clearly bigger than 75 hundredths because 80 is just bigger than 75, meaning that the hornet is longer. Okay, so let's show our work using some mathematical terms here. So we have 81 hundredths is greater than 75 hundredths. So that means 8/10 is greater than 75 hundredths. So that means that 0 and 8/10 is greater than 0 and 75 hundredths. Therefore, the hornet is longer. Okay? I know that was a lot, but it's just showing how we can make an equivalent fraction to compare, right? Because we can't just look at these numbers. We have one with the hundredth place and we have one in the tenths place. So we can't just look and see which one's bigger. We have to use fractions to help us. Hence why we've been studying fractions for about 2 months now, right? All coming together. So making equivalent fractions, we were able to make 8/10 into 80 hundredths. And then we were able to compare since they had similar denominators, okay? And then since 81 hundredths we proved was larger, that means the hornet is longer than the bumblebee, okay? I know that was a lot, so if you have any questions at all, boys and girls, please pause here and ask. That's why I stay in the Google Meet, to help, okay? So use me while I am there. That's what I'm here to do. But if you feel confident, we can just quickly look at page 568, and then we'll go over a practice problem together on page 569. So, what we can do here is obviously, when we do it like this, it gets a little tricky because we have hundredths and we have tenths. So, if you look here, each large square is one whole, and the 8/10 only has this little piece not shaded, right? But then the 75 hundredths also has this little piece on top of the same sliver not shaded, right? So it's clear that 75 hundredths is less than 8/10. So then notice that 8/10 has a 0 in the hundredths place in the chart. Remember, 8/10 is equivalent to 80 hundredths. So that is like how we said, because when we did this, 8/10 we said could be equal to 81 hundredths when we made our equivalent fractions, right? So technically we can put a 0 here because 8/10 and 80 hundredths are equivalent, okay? So that's also something you can do. So you can always add a 0 to the placeholder, and it would be an equivalent fraction, okay, with tenths and hundreds. And then we line them up. In the tenths, we have a 7 and an 8. The 8 is indeed larger, so that means that 8 tenths or 80 hundredths is in fact larger than 75 hundredths, okay? And I actually told a fib. We are not doing page 569 today. So you are actually going to jump right in to page 564, okay? So like I said, today's video was a little bit shorter than yesterday. I promised you that. So if you have any questions on your independent page, please, please, please ask. And make sure you are showing me either on Google Meet or on Seesaw when you are done, okay? Page 564. And if you finish early and you show me, you can do either a green light on reflex or work on your I ready path. Happy decimals!